There's no better way to celebrate Academy Award season than by checking out Best Classics Ever and their slate of Best Actor nominated performances.
They've got Cary Grant for Penny Serenade and Frederick March for A Star is Born.
And a 2-spot of William Powell films in My Man Godfrey and Life with Father.
And while it's always a joy to be nominated, it's even better when you win. Like Oscar winner Jose Ferrer for Cyrano de Bergerac.
You can find all 5 of these films at Best Classics Ever right here on Plex.
And check out our show, The Matinee, in the Hollywood Canteen section at bestclassicsever.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
I was going to say, like, the whole point of Star Wars is to get in to shoot those friggin' things to kill the Death Star. You're talking about the whole design of that movie. I'm a little...
Things didn't go the way you thought.
No, I'm just a little...
Stallone's playing soccer?
Yeah.
What's going on? I'm watching this.
I saw that at a very young age, and I didn't...
You're coming at me hard.
I'm not coming at you hard.
Yeah, you are.
I just don't believe her choices. Her choices are ridiculous. Give me an emotion.
Hi, I'm Mike Field.
And I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Find us. Our podcast is available on all platforms with a backlog of 150 episodes for your listening pleasure. Mr. Butler, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
We are not alone. We have a guest today.
We're alone and we have a guest.
Okay, well, that's true, I guess. Technically that's true. I want to introduce our audience to Laura Johns from Why the Book Wins podcast. Laura, introduce yourself. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you.
Podcast Why the Book Wins, where I compare books with their movie adaptations.
And we were on your I don't know when this episode comes out because we record ahead of time, but I know that we were on your episode, and that's not out yet as of this recording. But will they come out at the same time?
By the time this one goes live, ours for Enemy will have been posted.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, Mike and I watched the movie Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, Denis Villeneuve's earlier film, not his first film. I don't want to no spoilers. So we did that, and Laura agreed to come on, and she actually, we had our list of movies that we wanted to do this season. We already had planned it out, and I gave you the list, and she chose. What movie did you choose?
In Bruges.
In Bruges. Excellent. Butler, what's In Bruges about?
After a particularly difficult job, hitmen Ray and Ken head to Belgium to hide out until things cool down. Ray hates the medieval city they land in, but Ken finds its beauty and peacefulness enchanting. Their experiences become increasingly surreal and possibly life-changing as they encounter tourists, locals, an American dwarf, and a potential romance for Ray. That is a not so great summary.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, you know what? I forgot to. That's okay. That's just, I don't know.
Describes it better than the trailers describe the movie.
No, the trailer's just meant to get you into the theater. They don't care about after that. All right. So In Bruges has a runtime of 107 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $15 million. Now, I don't know if Butler, you saw this, but it has a release date on IMDb Pro of February 29th. 2008, but that's wrong. That's when it went from 100 and something theaters to like 250 theaters.
Right.
Its limited release date was February 8th, 2008. And that weekend it did $459,000. Total domestic was 7.8 million and worldwide was 34 million, which makes sense that it would do better internationally than domestically, obviously, because it's pretty much in Bruges. Oh, see how that's going to happen a lot. That's going to happen a lot. Production companies was Blueprint Pictures, Film 4 Productions, Focus Features, and Scion Films. It was distributed by Focus Features in the United States and Universal Pictures internationally. So I said it came out on February 8th, 2008. It went up against Fool's Gold, the ever popular Kate Hudson, and
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah.
Did you watch that? Have you seen that movie?
I do like that. It's actually on our forgotten films list.
Oh,
as an okay Valentine's Day movie.
Laura, have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it's a fun one. I enjoy it.
That's the one where they're hunting for treasure, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It also went up against Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, And then the Wild West comedy show, 30 Days and 30 Nights, Hollywood to the Heartland. That was the Vince Vaughn hosted stand-up that went across the country. And then I also have here The Hottie and the Naughty. I know that everyone's a big fan of Paris Hilton. But I also have How to Rob a Bank and 10 Tips to Actually Get Away with It. Butler, why do I have that there?
Because that was referenced in Logan Lucky as on the refrigerator or on the wall of Channing Tatum's character's
the actual list that he uses to how he's going to rob the NASCAR circuit or whatever is the same is what they use in How to Rob a Bank. So yeah, there's references there. The How to Rob a Bank lore is like a real indie film, so it's not. Yeah. It probably would be tough to find out there. Although ever since we did the Logan Lucky episode, this reference has popped up. This movie has popped up like 3 or 4 times since then. So maybe that's saying something.
Always seems to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So the week before February 1st, you had The Eye, Over Her Dead Body, and Strange Wilderness. And of course, Butler's favorite, Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus Best of Both Worlds concert.
Oh my God.
And then the week after, which is interesting because the week after is technically the 15th. That's the Friday, but they had all the movies come out on the 14th on Valentine's Day on that Thursday. So you had, and of course, a Valentine's movie would not be complete without the Spiderwick Chronicles. I don't know why that's there. Jumper, Step Up to the Streets, and then Definitely Maybe. That's the Valentine's Day movie, the Ryan Reynolds film. Laura, since your podcast compares books to the movie, I'm curious, have you ever got into those Spiderwick Chronicles or any of the YA stuff like that? Is that something that you cover?
No, I've never read Spiderwick. I've never read Percy Jackson. I've never read Hunger Games. So as a kid, I read a lot, but I don't know. I just never got around to them. And as an adult, it just doesn't really interest me.
Was YA as, I guess, prevalent when you were growing up in terms of, because there's so many out there now. Like there's just so many YA series books. Is that something that you...
I don't remember what I read in high school, but I don't know. I didn't read many series to begin with.
It just seems like there's so much of it now. It just seems like there's always a new
big
YA
business because now it's all movie deals and stuff attached to them.
The IPs and stuff
Netflix
like that,
money.
You know. That makes sense. You're always talking about Netflix money. Everyone else has money too, man.
Not that like Netflix. No one throws it out like Netflix.
Okay, so this film, In Bruges, was written and directed by Martin McDonagh. He has been nominated for an Oscar for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a really good film. He actually won an Oscar for a live action short called 6 Shooter, and he's done 7 Psychopaths. And the play, I only say this because I actually saw this play on Broadway, was The Pillow Man. I think I saw that. Yeah.
I was looking him up, and I was seeing all the stuff about The Pillow Man, which was that good?
It was basically one-on-one conversations most of the time. But it dealt with some dark subjects, but it was good. It was really good on stage. I think Jeff Goldblum was in the one I watched. I can't remember. There was a couple other people in there too, but I liked it. I think he did that one as a short too. I don't know if it came out as a feature. I don't know if it would do well as a feature because it's a talkie. It's basically just like 1 or 2 rooms and maybe 3 or 4 total actors kind of thing. So yeah,
it seems like all his movies deal with darker subject matter, like dark humor.
3 Billboards I really like. I remember the true story of that, but that was a really good movie. I'm not a huge 7 Psychopaths fan. I know, Butler, do you like that?
I do like that. I'm surprised you don't like 7 Psychopaths.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. So cinematographer was Eagle Bird. He did Kinky Boots, Ocean's 8, and Becoming Jane. Composer was Carter Burwell. He's been nominated for an Oscar for Carol and 3 Billboards. There's a lot of 3 Billboards nominations going to be popping up here. He also just did the movie The Tragedy of Macbeth. He did The Founder, which is a movie we did on the show, and he's done a lot of Coen Brothers films, which I know I'm a big fan of. I think Butler is too. Laura, do you like follow the Coen Brothers at all? Their movies, like yeah, I love all their stuff. Even the stuff that's just I still like it.
That was a leading question because you were already like, I know I really liked it. I'm pretty sure Butler does too. It was like, we're going to stop recording if you don't say yes. Of course she's going to say yes.
So the guest is gone now. Edited by John Gregory. He was nominated for 3 Billboards. He also did 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Donnie Brasco, and The Road, which is super depressing. Produced by Graham Broadbent, who's done The Boy Called Christmas, which I did not say. I know that was the new holiday one on Netflix. The Second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. I'm ashamed to say I've seen both of those. Peter Chernin has, who's also produced this. He did Emma and Welcome to Sarajevo. So Colin Farrell as Ray. Farrell's been in Tigerland, Minority Report, the Miami Vice movie that Butler and I did, and he's the upcoming The Batman. I guess that's like 4 hours long. Brendan Gleeson as Ken. He's in Lake Placid, Gangs of New York, The Village, and Harry Potter. There's going to be a Harry Potter theme. Go ahead, yeah.
He was also in Cold Mountain, which I covered on my podcast.
That's good job. Hey, listen, plug your show. Go for it. What I was saying was that there's a bunch of Harry Potter people in this movie, so get ready for the Harry Potter references. Ralph Fiennes is Harry. Who'd he play, Butler, in Harry Potter?
Oh, Ralph Fiennes is he who shall not be named. I can't say his name on this podcast.
I will. Voldemort.
Oh my God! How could you?
I don't care. He's nominated for 2 Oscars. One for Schindler's List, which is a fantastic film, and The English Patient. He also did The Dig. Let's see. I have Clement Poissy. I think I said that right. Is Chloe. She plays the girlfriend of Ray, or the drug dealer that he meets. She's in Tenet. She plays Fleur in Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire, and on from there. She's in Final Portrait and 127 Hours. Jordan Prentice plays Jimmy, the dwarf in the movie, or the little person, as you were. I just said dwarf because that's what they say in the movie. He's Howard the Duck. Did you know that?
What?
His credit is Howard the Duck, and he's Howard the Duck.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, that's pretty wild. He's also in Mirror Mirror, and he's in this movie called Ruby Sky PI, The Spam. And the reason why I bring that up is when I did web series back in 2010, we did The Puzzle Maker's Son. The Ruby Sky PI was a web series out of Canada that was pretty popular, and it was like kind of like a little Encyclopedia Brown type thing. It was a young girl who was like solving crimes in the city, and it was actually a well done web series. But and they did a movie, but it never really kind of shot off from there. But I always remember that in terms of my web series years, which is now going on 12 or 13 now. Oof, that's a long time. Belclue Roten as Marie. She's in Red Sparrow and The American. Let's see. Zelko Ivanek as the Canadian guy. They couldn't give him a name, so his role is Canadian guy. If he looks familiar, he's on like almost every TV show like out there. Like he's got a guest spot, or he's on a 6-episode arc. But right now, or more recently, he was on the TV show Madam Secretary. He's also in Argo and Courage Under Fire. And then Kieran Hines as Priest. He is just recently nominated for an Oscar for the movie Belfast. And depending upon when this comes out, he'll either have won it or lost it. He's also in Munich, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and the TV show Rome. I'm going to recommend Belfast to both of you. It's a really good film. I really liked it. So if you have not, I love the way it's shot, and I love the way it looks. And I love, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. And him and Judi Dench both got nominated, and they were really good in the movie. So that was a pretty good nomination. This movie was nominated for Best Writing for Original Screenplay, but it did not win. And as I like to do on the podcast, we're going to play Who Won That Year. You ready?
Oh, God.
Here we go. Laura, you can join in as well. Here we go. I'm going to give you the list. So Martin McDonagh did not win, but I'm going to give you the list of people in the movies, and you can guess out who you thought won. So we have Courtney Hunt for Frozen River, Dustin Lance Black for Milk, Mike Lee for Happy Go Lucky, and Andrew Stanton, Jim Reardon, and Peter Docter for Wall-E. Who won the 2009 Academy Award for Best Writing Original Screenplay?
I'm guessing Milk.
I was going to guess Milk as well.
Correct. Yes. Dustin Lance Black for Milk. Absolutely. Good job. Good job. I don't have any parting gifts, but good job. Okay. So I'm done talking because I talk forever. We have all seen this movie before. I know that. Laura, I'm curious, why did you choose this film out of the 12 right off the bat? Like what made you choose In Bruges?
So I saw it when it came out on Redbox. So back in 2008 when it was on Redbox. And my dad actually Redboxed it, and I was in high school at the time. And so, especially once I got in high school, like my dad and I became like movie watching buddies, and he's still alive. So it's like sentimental reasons, but it's not because he's dead or anything. He's still alive. But anyway, so we watched it, and we both went into it. Like, I don't know if he knew the synopsis, but I knew absolutely nothing about it. And then watching it, I don't know, we were both kind of blown away because I guess I had low expectations. And so I also remember thinking with that movie where it made me realize that I love going into a movie knowing nothing, because then like everything that happens comes as a surprise. And so I actually avoid watching trailers now for like most movies because I don't want to know anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's a fond memory, I guess, for one. And then I also just really like this director. Like, I really enjoy Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards. And yeah, it's just a fun one.
So,
but it's also like very serious and heartfelt at other times, and violent, but funny. And so yeah, it's just a great movie.
Did anything change? Like, so have you seen it before since then? Have you, or is this like your second or third viewing?
This is probably, I think I've seen it at least one time.
Okay.
So this is probably maybe my third or fourth. However, it's been years. So it had been like, I don't know, it's been over 5 years since I had seen it.
Did anything change at this viewing for you compared to like maybe the first time you saw it?
I mean, I still remembered most everything.
Sure.
Actually, I forgot the ending with Harry. I forgot that he killed himself in the end. So that was a surprise. But I don't know, maybe
we can get into it. I'm just curious.
I might have found Ray a bit more annoying at times.
I
know what he's dealing with emotionally. So you're like, okay, I'll cut him some slack.
Yeah.
And then I think I liked Harry more too this time around. Like there was something admirable about his character. So yeah, I guess those were some things that stood out.
And to your point about trailers, I'm the same way now. Like if I watch one trailer, like, oh, I'll watch it. Okay, I'm good. I don't need to keep watching other trailers. It's usually a red flag for movies when they keep doing multiple trailers, multiple posters, because it's like, okay, you're really pushing this movie hard. Why? What's wrong with it? Butler, what did you? I know exactly. Butler, what did you think of the movie? I guess same question. First time since the last time you watched it. What? Anything change? Anything?
I think the thing that this is only my second time watching it, but I think it still surprised me the second time from the first time is just the darkness that's within the movie, that's layered into the movie. Like it's not a fun movie. I remember when the trailers came out, it was essentially advertised like it was a Snatch type movie, like that kind of British humor, kind of Guy Ritchie type movie. And it really isn't at all. And I think the other thing that strikes me each time is that, or it has struck me both times, is how much like a play it can be at times. Kind of makes sense with his play background, but this one would be difficult to put on stage, but not impossible. Its use of a small cast of characters and the way they speak is conversational, but also talking about, they kind of discuss the theme as they talk, which is something that plays do quite often, especially, deep philosophical type plays, which I kind of enjoy in this. And I like that it's shot in Bruges. It's a very interesting city. It looks different. It's not like every other place. I don't know if it's a fairy tale because it's kind of gray and whatever. Maybe it did way back in the day. But I just think it's a very interesting location with very interesting. You wouldn't see a plot like this take place in Bruges most of the time.
Right. Go ahead. Did you have something?
I was going to say, I actually went to Bruges in 2017 because of this movie. So
that's awesome.
Area with the clock tower or whatever tower that was. That was really cool being there and seeing it all in person. So that was awesome. And I went because of this movie.
Do they have everything set up there where they kind of like use the cachet of the movie being shot there to kind of like, oh, hey, this was shot here. No, they don't do anything like that. They don't care. Oh, that's wild. Now I have a note about Bruges where I don't know. I didn't look it up. I didn't go further, but it says, I guess, somebody was executed in 1488. Pieter Lanchels was executed in 1488. And because of that, Maximilian of Austria's punishment was that Bruges had to keep swans forever. Like, that's a note I have. And I was like, okay. So were there swans there?
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the things that I forgot about upon first watch to this watch was that I didn't realize how violent it was, how bloody it was, especially when Ken jumps off the tower and like his shoulder explodes. Like I didn't know that, and when the head's getting shot off and stuff like that, especially towards the end, I totally forgot about the ending, about Harry, about just how it ends. I don't know why. And it's almost like when I was watching it, I was like, this is all new. I don't remember any of this. And then I started thinking, did I finish this movie? So then I started doubting my own experience with it. But yeah, no, I enjoyed. I had the same note, Laura, as you did with Ray. I found it very difficult to. It wasn't like you said. It wasn't like I understood why he was the way he was, but it like he jumps from emotion to emotion so quick that it's really difficult to kind of go along there with him and empathize with him when he's
all the time.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah. He's suicidal, obviously. And I'm very surprised. Now, in the original script ending, they had an actual scene where Ray's alive. He survives those gunshots. And my thought was that okay, but I don't know if there's any redemption for him for killing a kid. I don't know if that's okay. I don't know what you guys think about that. If that's something that you could be okay with, if it wasn't in the movie, so we don't really have. It's not really you know what I mean. But if it was, would that do you think he should have survived?
The way they kind of had it, they had to kill him. I think if they had filmed a different ending where he was saving a kid, or I mean, even if you show him, years later, we talk about the ending of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, or the story of it where Mark Strong's now a teacher and he's taking care of the kid that's being bullied and he's kind of mentoring him as like his redemptive arc. Like that would have to be something Colin Farrell's character like Ray was going through. But even then, I don't think you can excuse what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's him difficult. Just kind of being in Bruges, not making up for what he's done. He's just alive and has to deal with it. I don't think that really makes up for it.
He's just wallowing in it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's terrible that he shot a child.
It's a tough scene too. Oof.
Yeah. But I don't know, like the Ken character where he's saying like, we need to let him live because he's young enough to move forward and become someone else. And even though as we're seeing the movie, he's not really improving per se, but he's also very early in the events. So who's to say that down the road, he couldn't like redeem himself in some way or other and become like the movie. He just seems kind of selfish a lot of the time, but
right.
Who's to say that he couldn't change at some point?
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, I do like the ending, how it is, where we don't really know. And we don't know, but yeah, as a whole, I feel like it's not irredeemable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he says that he wants to go to the mom and he's like, I'll accept whatever punishment she says. And so like, even just that fact that he has that thought at the very end shows that he's willing to improve in some way and just own up to what he's done. So.
Yeah, no, it's just tough with Ray because it's like I said, it's the one scene I'm thinking about is when there's a scene where he's like trying to make a joke about shooting priests and children. Like he makes like a joke, and it's like, and I think that was when they're on the bench together by the water. I think that's when that was. And
he makes a joke. He makes a joke at dinner with the girl on his first date.
Right. I just think some of the jokes that he's doing kind of undercuts the emotional scenes where you feel bad for him. And I think that, and I get it. It's because he's all over the place and he's, but then he makes like a child abuse joke. I know it's supposed to show how Ray is all messed up. He's all over the place. My question is, and I'm not questioning McDonagh, but my question is like, is that designed to show just Ray is screwed up? Or did they even consider that when they were writing the dialogue? You know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering if that was just something, because I know Colin, the way Colin Farrell, is acting in this, a lot of it seems like it could be ad-libbed. You know what I mean? Like it could just be running at the mouth kind of thing.
Some of it seems like let's throw in some dark jokes here just to have dark jokes here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, we can get to Jimmy and the racist dwarf.
His rant.
Oh my God. Talking about how the whites versus the blacks. And I'm just like, oh God, where's this going? But I like how they bring it up later as Ray says it to him. He's just like, that's the cocaine, man. That's just the cocaine.
Yeah.
Just like, oh boy, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So Butler, come on, give me something. You generally like this film, right, Butler?
I did. I'm pretty sure I'm the one that originally put it on the list.
Give me something you didn't like.
I think kind of some of the jokes I don't like that much, because I think that it sometimes, like, while I like them, sometimes it veers a little too jokey. and then comes back into being okay. Like basically the whole part where they take not the ketamine, that's what Jimmy's on. They take the cocaine and the ecstasy. And kind of that whole extended scene just kind of shows him kind of gaining a friendship with Jimmy that really you don't need, because Jimmy's going to come back anyway because he's going to meet the girl. I just don't think we need the blacks versus the whites scene. The scene in the restaurant where he's tapping him on the head while he's making out with the girl, that just seems to be there to give it this comedic edge and to maybe pad out the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that's necessary, because you get that's an extra 10 minutes where the only thing that matters is how upset Ken is around Ray. But you don't really get that much of it. And you do get that moment where Ken talks about how Harry avenged the death of his wife. But I feel like you could have added that into a different section, or put that in with a conversation between Ken and Harry, or Ray and Ken, and made it a little more meaningful in a way that I don't think it is shoehorned in with this scene with the prostitutes in the hotel room with Jimmy. So I think that whole 10-minute segment should be changed.
Yeah, that scene I had totally forgotten about. And I agree. As I was watching that part, I was kind of like,
yeah,
why is this here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that was unnecessary.
So that scene that you're both talking about, that has the Ken talking about Harry avenging the girl's death. Is that in that scene?
Yeah, like because Butler said that's the only important fact we learned.
Right. So if I don't know if you saw it, but if you go on YouTube, there's actually a deleted scene where Matt Smith, I don't know which doctor he was, the 12th or the 11th, right, 13th, I don't know. He plays a young Harry. And they show that scene where he goes in and he sees and he beheads the cop in the middle of the police station. And they show it, but the CGI of the beheading was so bad that they didn't put it in the movie. So I'm wondering if that probably it's on YouTube. Just look up in Bruges deleted scene and just look for Matt Smith, and they have the whole scene. It's like a minute and a half. And you'll laugh at the beheading because it looks like a computer animated. It's terrible. But I'm wondering, when you lose that scene, maybe you guys are both talking about that line of dialogue that, like, you know what I mean? It's a nice piece of dialogue, but it's stuck in 10 minutes of what are we doing here? So I'm wondering if that scene was in there, it probably would have helped.
Do we need a flashback though?
It was minus the beheading. It actually was a cool flashback because
I'd have to see it.
Matt Smith looked and acted just like a young Ralph Fiennes, just like a young Harry. So it was just he's really good in this.
I had read about the scene, but I didn't see it. Interesting. All right. And he's the 11th Doctor, Mike. Shame on you.
I don't know. Hey, listen, first of all, I've watched all the way through the new one. So, okay, where have you been?
You're a braver man than I. I'll wait for Russell T. Davies to take back over.
That's a cop out, man. That's a cop out. Laura, do you watch Doctor Who, Laura?
I watched the David Tennant one. And
he's the best.
Yeah. After that, I just can't stop.
I got it. I understand. Yeah. Matt Smith's stuff was good. Peter Capaldi kind of grows on you. Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, it's not her fault. It's just Chris Chibnall, the guy who created it, who's doing those 2 seasons. He mishandled a lot of stuff. You know, she would have been fine, but he doesn't like Doctor Who. He had a whole season where it was like, what are we doing? He actually changed a lot of the history of the Doctor. To a lot of people were upset. Like he changed, like how the Doctor was from Gallifrey. He changes that, and like the Doctor's not from Gallifrey anymore. It's exactly.
And you want me to watch this? You want me to watch this?
My wife is livid. So yeah, but back to this movie. One of the things I wanted to ask you guys about was I actually really wanted to know more about Ken's story about his wife being murdered in the 70s. Do you remember that part when he talks about what's up?
What we were just talking about.
No, we're talking about Harry. I'm sorry.
How Harry was avenging Ken's thing.
I got confused. I'm sorry. The Harry scene is not about Ken's wife. The Harry scene is about something else.
Okay, that's what I was thought. Okay,
my bad.
That's about a corrupt cop or something, right?
No, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm completely off the rails. I keep confusing Ray and Ken and Harry. They need better names so I know who's who. Well, Laura, I asked Butler what he didn't like about it. I know you kind of echoed that. Was there anything else that maybe jumped out? When I say don't like, it's not really a negative, just something that kind of you didn't respond to, or you kind of noticed and you were just kind of like, man, maybe that wasn't, I don't really like that much. Is there something like that?
I mean, the director is British, and something I noticed, like I watched Top Gear, like the old Top Gear that was British. And British people love making fun of like Americans as if they're all fat. And of course, there were like the 3 fat Americans. So there's plenty of fat British people too. It's not just Americans. So that part was kind of like, okay.
It's low hanging fruit, making fun of Americans. I get it.
Yeah.
Most of us are jerks, so I understand it.
I was waiting for the Canadian part to be to end up being an American joke where he's going to apologize to punch the Canadian guy because he finds out he's Canadian, not American.
I did wonder with that. Like, he's on the train and he gets arrested for having punched the Canadian. But like, why was the Canadian on the train and then saw him and reported him? Or
yeah, that confused me too. Was there this huge manhunt for a small scuffle in a restaurant?
Yeah.
So I guess that part too didn't quite make sense. But aside from that, I don't know. I don't really have any major complaints with it. Like the acting, I was just super impressed with everybody's acting. So I loved that. Yeah, I guess those were the main complaints.
What do both of you think about Ken's decision to jump off and kill himself in order to make sure that Ray is aware that Harry's coming from? What do you think of that decision?
Should have gone head first. That's what I think.
Well, he broke the gun. Didn't matter. He had the gun.
Yeah, take the gun. It was rough. But I mean, I get it because there's no other way to, he's not getting down those steps in time. He's bleeding out quick. He's shot in the leg. He's dead no matter what. Or at the very least going to be picked up by the police and spend the rest of his life in jail. So I think it was the right decision. I just think, oof.
Yeah, I loved that scene too. And Colin Farrell, which there's like a lot of emotion in this movie. And then that scene, and then Colin Farrell or Ray, when he's like crying, seeing Ken, like that part almost made me tear up, just like all the emotion and then this exciting moment, or kind of exciting. But yeah, so I thought that was a great scene. And at least he dropped pennies first so people can like clear the way. Yeah. That was nice.
Well, he dropped the exact change he tried to pay to get into the bell tower earlier on in the movie.
Yeah.
So he kind of paid his way back up again.
Which that doorman was such a jerk. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was funny, but it's like, who would be that rude to someone? I don't
know. When he's pointing at Harry in his forehead, yeah, it's like, come on, dude, read the room.
Yeah,
you can't tell this guy's gonna mess you up.
Yeah,
I did like the chase at the end from that scene. I thought the chase at the end had really cool editing, and it was a nice chase scene through Bruges, which is nice. When you get a chase scene in a location. So I obviously leading to the movie set at the end. So I actually did like the chase scene. So that was pretty cool. One of my bugaboos in movies is I don't like voiceover. And this movie starts off with voiceover and then it ends with a different person's voiceover. I'm not a huge fan of it. I get it. I understand why it was in there. I'm curious if you guys, did it bother you at all, or was it just like, it's fine?
Who's the beginning voiceover?
Beginning was Ken, I believe. I think Ken was reciting something.
Reciting the orders of Harry.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then it was Ray at the end saying, I don't want to die. That whole thing.
So I just recently, maybe not recently, fairly recently realized or heard people talk about how that's like a no-no in movie making because it's all about show, don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
So since then, I've been more aware of voiceovers. Having said that, it didn't bother me personally. I was fine with it.
Yeah. Sometimes when movies use it a lot, it's because they're trying to fix something in the post-production. Like there's a lot of editing going on that they need to explain things. So, I mean, we just had our movie for Glory that came out, our episode for Glory that we did, and they do voiceover there, but they're actually reading from the letters of Shaw, the Colonel. That I was okay with that because they're actually reading from historical texts, which didn't bother me. But a lot of times, yeah, voiceovers and montages are there to kind of like fix boo-boos and stuff like that, and stuff that happens in production. Butler, what'd you think of the voiceovers?
I thought the first voiceover is kind of necessary, although you do get the flashback later on that actually tells you why they're in Bruges and who they are. All you know is that they have to be in Bruges to lie low for a while. They're going to get a call within 2 weeks. And that's basically what Ken sets up. And I think you also get Ray talking a little bit before that, like in terms of like what the fuck's Bruges, where's Bruges, all that kind of stuff. But that's about it. So that part's fine. I don't like the ending narration because he's put in the ambulance. Ray's put in the ambulance. He talks about, I would have gone to the mom. I would have asked for forgiveness. It's like, these are all, are you bartering with death kind of? Are you on death's door now bartering with God in a way? Is that who you're talking to? Are you talking to us, the audience? Because this is not the Ray from 5 minutes ago who was going to, live a life in Bruges with his girlfriend and have beers with Jimmy all the time. That's where it seems like his head was at. He wasn't going to run away and make good on his promises. Excuse me. He was just going to live life in Bruges. And then we get this, I would have done this, I would have done that. And I don't feel like that fits his character. And I think that's a result of the ending being changed and re-edited and refilmed. And that ending narration, I don't think you need. Because I think the beginning is a dialogue that we're just getting. That's just over shots of Bruges, where I think that the ending is just coming up with an ending that you like slightly better than what you had.
It's funny that they make that you have a city that's, like a fairy tale, they keep saying. And your last shot is the inside of an ambulance.
All modern, stark and white and stuff.
Yeah. The most ugly shot you could pick for this movie. Do you think that was on purpose, or do you think that was, Laura, what do you think? Do you think that was on purpose?
I actually hadn't even considered that, but yeah, I feel like that must have been on purpose, right? Like maybe going back to reality or something.
Could be, yeah. You're in it. It's picturesque. There's all this violence that's happening in this picturesque location, and now you have somebody who's trying to atone for sins or something, and it's not a nice looking area, nice looking spot. Like I always, there are happy accidents in film, but I always think about Hitchcock, who always had a purpose for every scene, and always had a purpose for what's going on in the scene, and what's, there's specific things happening. So I always think that I always give the filmmaker the benefit of the doubt that they are thinking that as well. But sometimes they're not, like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do a breakdown of like a Revenge of the Nerds movie like this. So, I'm sure they're not thinking about stuff like that.
I think it was, what I thought about it was like, I didn't think about what you said with the stark modern kind of symbolism, but I thought the light that he's seeing at the end was just him dying. Mm-hmm. Because it goes up on that fluorescent light. And I thought that's what that was supposed to mean.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Do you guys have any favorite lines from the movie, or anything that you wrote down that you like?
I have a lot of lines that I wrote down. I don't know if I can say them on the podcast. I do like, you're an inanimate fucking object.
I have that too.
Him
yeah.
apologizing. I'm sorry I called you an inanimate fucking object.
And I love that that's our first scene where we see Ray
yeah.
on the phone. But yeah, I was surprised how much I enjoyed his character this time around. And yeah.
Oh, Harry, yeah, absolutely. Ralph Fiennes does a good job. He plays him. It's almost like you want a whole movie with Harry in it, but he's not. He's not really. Maybe he's the anti-hero, but he's somebody you follow. He's probably he's the best character in this movie, just in terms of, who Harry is, and what he believes in and what he's friend. Like you know Harry. Ray is somebody who's obviously struggling, so it's really, like we talked about, it's difficult to kind of connect with him. And Ken's tough, because Ken is like, let me, before I start figuring out what Ken is, what do you guys think? Like, what's Ken's purpose, or what do you think of Ken's character? Is Ken's character as fleshed out as Harry or as Ray is? Or, because we've talked about both Ray and Harry a lot. What do you guys think about Ken?
Ken's a man at peace with what he does. Ken's a man who has had a life, which is the whole point. Is Ken's a guy who can't start over. He's a hitman through and through. That's what he can. That's why he says with the Ray, he can start over. He can do something new. Ken is someone who, this is his life. Clearly, we find out later on his wife has passed away. His wife's been dead for a long time. So he's just been kind of going through the motions. He's calm. He's cool. He's collected. He's not living necessarily the best life, but he's living the best life that he can, outside of, murdering people. So his life is essentially, it can be over whenever he wants. Yeah.
That whole scene where they're talking about heaven and hell, and Ken is like, I try to be a good person, aside from the fact that I've killed some people.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
none of them were very nice people, but
except for the one guy, but he came at me with a bottle. And at that point, it's a weapon.
Now he says that. So he says that. So does that justify him hitting that woman who swings at the bottle at him in the restaurant? And he's like, a bottle, and he hits her. Does that justify that for you?
He could have gotten away from her, but it was pretty funny when he screams bottle and he socks her.
But it does seem in this movie that Ken, like as far as the movie's purpose, he just kind of serves as like an in-between between Harry and Ray, because it ends with them and those two. I don't know, Ken has some big events happening too. But yeah, he's a great character, but it definitely kind of gravitate towards the stories with Ray and Harry, I guess. But
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Or I was actually going to go back to Harry, but if you have something more to say about Ken.
No, I can go back to Ken. Go ahead. Give me Harry.
I was just going to say another Harry scene, which I don't know. It wasn't my favorite scene in the whole movie, but it was one of my favorites, is when Harry goes to buy the gun and the guy with the blind eye is there. And his whole thing about like, well, it sounds like it was your fault because he was able to get the gun from you.
Yeah.
That whole thing. So just, yeah.
Yeah. What I was going to say about Ken was that, he pretty much, he's like, he puts Ray on the train, he's going to go away. So, and Ken's like, you're just going to have to kill me. Harry's like, I can't kill you. I'm going to just wound you. So then let's say then Ray was never back in Bruges. Is that the end of the movie? Are these guys going off and that's it? They're just going to let Ray go and disappear and they're going to just go off and, be together.
That's the end.
Interesting.
But that fits Harry's character that you find out is that he's a man of principle.
Mm-hmm.
He has to do it. It's his honor. That's the whole thing right from the very start, other than his temper, is he's a man of honor, a man of principle. And Ray's back. I got to kill Ray. It's like that supersedes everything, even friendship.
Mm-hmm. So to that point, let's talk about the ending a little bit. I know, Laura, you brought up the ending briefly, that Harry ends up shooting himself because Harry comes up early in the movie and says, if that was me, if I shot a kid, I would shoot myself right in the head right then and there. So flash forward now, he's chasing Ray. He shoots him with the bullets that explode, which I would assume they would explode immediately going through Ray and not pass through Ray, then explode when they hit Jimmy in the head. But it's the movie.
Well, they're hitting soft flesh. So it's when they really impact on something. Yeah,
it's fine. It's a movie. I'm fine. You don't have to explain it. Jimmy's head explodes. And Jimmy's dressed as a schoolboy for the movie, for the dream sequence. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Living in Oblivion, but if you see Living in Oblivion, the fact that Jimmy is shooting a dream sequence makes Living in Oblivion's, there's a scene in there where there's another little person. He's having a fit because it's like he's complaining about like, oh, must be a dream sequence because there's a dwarf in it. Of course, there's a dream sequence, like that kind of thing. So, Living in Oblivion's hilarious. But that makes me laugh because that's what they're doing in this movie. But anyways, Jimmy's head explodes, so he looks like a child because he's got the schoolboy outfit on. Harry sees it, shoots his head off. Basically, my question is, do you like the way that scene played out? Is it believable for you that in terms of the ending? I know they set it up, so that's probably a yes. It's probably another loaded question, but what do you guys think of that ending?
Yeah, I thought it was very fitting for Harry's character because we've seen throughout the whole movie that he's someone who sticks to his morals, which I think if you're going to be like an assassin boss, you have to have some kind of guidelines or something if you're going to be successful at it while balancing a family with his kids. So if he had killed Jimmy and not killed himself, it just wouldn't have made sense, I don't think. So yeah, I thought it was fitting and I thought it was a good end.
What do you think, Butler?
I think the whole time that something's going to happen to Jimmy because they focus on him way too much. So there's going to be payoff even before he puts the schoolboy outfit on. And then once he puts the schoolboy outfit on, you're like, okay, he's the kid and whatever's going to happen. But I agree. I think he has to have those morals, and that's what they've been setting up this whole time. And I think if he doesn't kill himself, you're now setting up a different kind of theme for your movie. If he just goes, nope, now I'm going to go on the run, you're setting up something different because the whole thing is you have to be responsible for your actions, and that you can't run away from the things that you've done. And that whole thing is that lesson is trying to be imparted onto Ray this whole time. And for Ray to witness Harry run away from that would be also for us to witness that and us to be taught a different lesson or taught no lesson at all. Nothing matters. But that's not what this is trying to teach you. That's why you got to stick to your principles. And he just blows his head off right then and there, which I think is a great line too.
What do you guys think of the Chloe character? She's pretty much the only female in this movie, so this is a male-dominated film. But
other than Marie or Maria.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Okay, right. What do you think? I'm going to ask about both because I meant to bring up Marie. What do you think about Chloe's character, or just her? Because I can't get a grasp on her in terms of what Ray. Like, I can't understand what Ray sees in her other than it's a girl that gave him attention, and it's a woman that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, they were attracted to each other, but that's it. I don't understand any kind of earth shattering. Like, why is Ray, like, you know what I mean? Like, why is he going to stay in Bruges with this woman? What do you guys think of Chloe?
There wasn't really too much to her. Character. And maybe it wasn't so much about her, but maybe with what he was going on in his own life that made him want her and attach to her so much. The part when the boyfriend is like kind of mugging him when they're in bed, and he's upset and he's like, I knew someone like you wouldn't be interested in me. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, someone nice. So that shows like his own self-loathing, like a decent person wouldn't be interested in me. So I knew you couldn't be. But yeah, as far as her though, there wasn't really much to her. I enjoyed her character, but she really just served to hit Ray's storyline.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it was in that scene. What I was going to say was in that scene, it's like she tells him, like the show don't tell. She tells him, no, I do. Okay, that's it. I guess that's that. Okay, now we're good. Now that's, you know what I mean. It wasn't like there was no. I didn't get a connection in terms of just more beyond the words of those two guys or those two people together. Maybe that's the best thing I'm trying to say. And granted, McDonagh's a playwright, so maybe that's why that's like that. Butler, what'd you think?
So McDonagh's a playwright, so I look at everything like through a playwright's eyes, especially he's like trying to like be like Sartre or any of those other philosophical writers. I thought she represented temptation. She is ecstasy. She is cocaine. She's the easy way out. I knew you wouldn't be into me. He can't just take drugs to get the easy way out. She's leaving him just as soon as drugs come in. She only sells drugs. She's, beating up and robbing tourists. He became a hitman. It was his first job. So clearly he hasn't been doing this for a long time. He's not a civilized hitman like Ken or anything like that. He's not a businessman. He's probably been going job to job. She's just temptation, the easy way out. And he takes her again at the end of In Bruges before, obviously In Bruges, this whole movie's in Bruges, but at the end, while they're in Bruges, and he's talking, when he comes back, he gets bailed out of jail. He's not following Ken's advice. And I look at Ken as like the ferryman, giving him a choice on where he's going to end up, his final destination. And he ends up back in Bruges with temptation, with just the easy way out of cocaine and ecstasy, and probably helping her rob tourists and just living a simple life and not making up for his past misdeeds. And I think that's what Chloe represents. She's not a good person. She's not good at all, but she's fun.
The only thing with that, and I do too, but Butler, to that point, I would think that if she is temptation, then she can't be good for Ray. Then when he's about to get on that train, she needs to be there to be like, don't leave me. Like, you know what I mean? It can't be like she comes to his aid. I don't
disagree with that either, but
yeah.
Don't drugs always come to your aid when you're like feeling down, if you're an addict?
I guess I think that I understand what you're saying.
But I do think that would be a good scene on the train scene though. I do think that you're right.
I think you just need more. I think you need what you're saying. You need more of it, maybe to be a little bit like, no, this is what she is. But let me ask you this: if that's what she is, what's Marie?
An angel.
She needs to be in it more. I thought Marie wasn't in it enough. What'd you think, Laura?
Yeah, she was a great character, and like kind of like, so if Chloe represents the bad temptation, the devil on your shoulder, then Marie would be the angel. Just someone very wholesome and good and kind. Yeah, she was a great character though, and she was funny, and you just liked her. And then her note on the thing being like, "I'm not a receptionist, like I'm the co-owner."
Right,
I love that.
And I thought her connection was more with Ken though. I thought her and Ken had a bit more of a connection than Marie and Ray.
We see them more together.
True. We hear about him talking to her because she says like, "Oh, he told me." he gave me the money. And then in the note he writes, I didn't want her to have to clean it up if I commit suicide.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
that's true. I never noticed that she and Ray never directly talk as far as we see. So I guess that could be symbolic, right? That he's only interacting with the Chloe character. No.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. There's a lot of different references in this movie or inspirations in this movie that I wanted to go through. I guess one of the film's major influences, Harold Pinter's The Dumbwaiter. I think it's a play about two hitmen, but I've never seen it, or I didn't.
Is it a play or a film?
I think it's both.
Okay.
So, have you guys have ever seen it or heard about it or anything like that?
I have heard of it, but I had never seen it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. So they look at a lot of paintings in the movie. Well, one of the paintings they look at is The Last Judgment by Hieronymus Bosch. And I guess in the movie, there's a ton of Bosch references. There's symbols throughout the film, but obviously The Last Judgment being that Ray and Ken are facing a last judgment. But I guess a dwarf character is often featured in Bosch's paintings. So that was another reason why they used that. Also, I'm going to take this time to, again, pitch to everybody to watch the show Bosch on Amazon because it's awesome. Okay, I'll stop. Those are based on books, Laura, so maybe you can do a TV series.
Oh.
Yeah, those are. So it's a really good show, but if you have to be into like procedural Los Angeles police stuff and whatnot. But but it's really good. So, anyways, I'll move on. The phone call that Harry calls Ken before Ken gets the phone call, he is watching Touch of Evil. He's watching the movie Touch of Evil. I don't know if you both have seen Touch of Evil, but the scene he's watching is the one long shot in the scene. So after he turns the TV off and when he goes on the phone, that whole phone call is one shot in honor of the movie he's watching there. So if you go back, you'll notice that as well. Yeah. And then the last reference I have is that I guess, which I didn't see, I couldn't really see, but I guess this is references to Don't Look Now, the horror film from the 70s with Donald Sutherland. But I think the reference there would just be the fact that the Don't Look Now took place in Venice, where I think it was Venice, where there's a lot of waterways and stuff like that and bridges and canals. And I don't really see the reference too much here, but those are some of the references in the movie. I'm curious, after watching In Bruges, were you reminded of other films? I know we talked a little bit about that earlier, but were there other films that you kind of, maybe since then, since obviously it's been like 14 years now, that have come out since I know every time we do this, it makes me feel older and older. Did you actually and they did just like that in that movie that they did it in Bruges? Were any references that you kind of picked up there?
I can't think of any.
That's fine.
I was reminded a lot of like The Tourist with Johnny Depp, the way it's shot. Like, right. I don't like The Tourist, but I think they might have picked up a lot from In Bruges. It's
not that bad, but yeah,
it's okay. It was watchable, but it wasn't great.
No,
but yeah,
exactly. It's like a throw it on Saturday night. Let's watch it. I got
you. But there were certain shots like when Ray gets off the boat and keeps running, and he goes up the stairs. I was like, I think that exact shot is in The Tourist at one point.
Okay.
I thought that obviously In Bruges at night gave me big time Bourne vibes. Just because Bourne also uses lesser known, European cities. It doesn't focus on London and Paris as its main focuses. So you don't get a lot of films, at least you don't get a lot of big Hollywood films that take place in Europe that are in smaller towns and cities like that.
Well, this is a low budgeted film too.
Exactly. This is a European indie. So
yeah. Okay. So we're towards the end now. And I always ask Butler this, but Laura, I'm going to ask you this first. Why do you think In Bruges is forgotten?
Well, it's funny because I remember a while back on Instagram, there was an account being like, what's your favorite Colin Farrell role? And I put In Bruges, but then I was surprised how many other people had put In Bruges. So I feel like it's, I don't know if cult classic applies, but I think for like more serious movie fans know of this movie and love it. But again, it's just not mainstream because I think one, like maybe the violence mixed in with the dark comedy, a lot of people don't like that. And yeah, some of like the weird jokes that are said would put some people off. And then was it limited release or was it wide release?
It was limited. It never went over, it never went over 232 theaters. So no, like we said, it played well internationally, much better internationally than it did here. So that could be a reason too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this director, Seven Psychopaths, just had more American names. So then people just knew that one better. And then Three Billboards, obviously. But yeah, so the fact that it's foreign and it's more independent and then more graphic.
Yeah.
The dark humor, I guess all of that.
Butler, what do you think?
I think Three Billboards was robbed of a Best Picture.
What won that year? I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. I just remember being mad.
Was that The Shape of Water?
Maybe. That's a good movie, though. I like that.
I like
movie.
Shape of Water, but
I love the
Three
production
Billboards
design in Shape of Water.
phenomenal.
I want to live in that apartment that she has. That apartment's fantastic.
Pre-flooding or post-flooding?
Both.
I think in Bruges, I think it's advertising hurt it in this country. I think it was advertised as Snatch. I mean, that's what I came into it thinking it would be. We did have it at our theater, I remember, for like a week. I really thought it was going to have more comedic elements. I loved it because it was very play-like. It was very dark. But I think that, like Laura said, the darkness hurts it in America. We're a very sensitive folk, and we don't like change, and we don't like things that are different. And we don't like things that are sad unless it's a sappy Valentine's Day drama or a movie about a dog that dies. I just think it's too. This would do great on Broadway, but terrible in Hollywood. It's a really weird thing with like Americans and dark comedy and dark subject matter like this.
Well,
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't think you're getting the. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Butler. Go ahead.
Well, I think, like Laura said, also, I think people that love film love it, but I think modern audiences, it's tough to describe the movie truthfully and get somebody to watch it. But I think if you got somebody to watch it, I think they would really enjoy it. Like if I played it for my fiance, because I don't think I saw it with her in theaters. I think I watched it by myself after a shift. I think she'd really enjoy this film, but I think you can't really tell people about it. You got to just let them experience it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I was going to say was the In Bruges that we get is you wouldn't get that in a studio system in Hollywood. It'd be now I'm talking 2008 because now with modern day sensibilities, I don't think, and people just concerned about upsetting everybody, you wouldn't get a lot of this. You wouldn't get the drug infused scene where they're talking about whites versus blacks and Jimmy's going off and spouting. But like, that people are like that. You know what I mean? I think it's very honest. I think it's very honest with the way people are. I think Ray's an honest character. And I think that you need to, I'm always a proponent of flawed people on screen. Doesn't mean just because I like a flawed person on screen doesn't mean I, sign up for everything they say, but it's real life. People are not, they're not what they are on social media. They're real people. So I appreciate that. But I think that kind of movie can't get made in kind of a Hollywood studio system because the script's going to get passed through 15 different people and they're going to all have notes and they're going to all just change what you're trying to do. I think written and directed by Martin McDonagh, it's a $15 million production. We're going to go off and do this movie on our own. I think that's why In Bruges works. Absolutely why it works.
This was on the Blacklist, I read.
It was
a couple years before it was actually made. Yeah.
The Blacklist has become a little bit of a money grab now. It's not as it used to be.
Oh, really?
Yes, because now it's pay to be on the Blacklist. It's turned into a site
have to
where
pay
you
to get on the Blacklist now.
Now you do. Yeah, it's a sham. It's not great. Exactly, because the Blacklist used to be like scripts that people would read, like, oh, the script's really good. Let's get it out there. And It was like all these readers saying like, you're missing out on all these movies. And then that they get picked up. And then it became this like huge money-making scheme.
Laura, do you know what the Blacklist is?
Yeah. Isn't that like movies that weren't made, but they wanted to be made or something?
Right.
Yeah.
Scripts that read really well and people really loved them, but for some reason they just weren't getting greenlit. Right. But they're really good scripts. So it's good that those type of scripts get seen. But what it once was is not what it is now. Is basically what I'm saying.
Pay to get on the Blacklist. Come on.
I know. Yeah, I think this movie is. I think the violence gets a lot of people that love movies like Pulp Fiction, like fandom, like young teens, young indie filmmakers who like those type of films. I think that gets them through the door. I don't think it gets broad audiences through the door. You know what I mean? Or it probably turns them off, as we say. Because as soon as you get, I guess maybe what is it? 10. What's the first death? Is the first death
as soon as you're going to see the kid. Yeah, that's the first really violent
that'll
death.
Completely turn people off. Absolutely.
That's 20 minutes in.
Yeah. And it's a tough scene. It's really tough. And I remember back in the day, you wouldn't show dead children on screen, but now it's like it's tough to watch. But it's a great scene because you need it. You need it because you need to understand you need to understand what's going on with Ray and understand what's happening.
The note the child is holding too just makes you just
because it
makes it real.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other things before we'll wrap up is that it does have funny jokes and it does have funny, it has humor in there, but they're not, the two men are not comical. They're still bad guys. They're all still, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's we can laugh at it, but they're not comical where it's like they're goofball. They're serious men, serious people, but they're still bad dudes. And even though there's some humor in there, there's never humor where you kind of like, oh, I like these guys. I hope they're okay. You're never like that. You understand what happens to them and you're like, yes, right. that has to happen. So, but that goes also to the point of we all think Ray should be dead. At the end of the movie. Okay. So, Butler, before you go into the spiel where they can find us for Forgotten Cinema, I'm going to let our guests tell everybody where they can find her, or just let everyone know where they can find you and where you are, what social media is, and whatever you'd like to do. The floor is yours.
So you can go to whythebookWins.com and I have links to all my stuff there. And my podcast episodes, I also do them in blog form if you would rather read it. But yeah, so I'm on YouTube as well, Why the Book Wins. Whatever podcasting platform you use, Why the Book Wins. And my podcast are book versus movie comparisons. But then my YouTube channel, I film my book versus movie comparisons. But then YouTube, I also just do other book-related content for the most part. And on Instagram, Why the Book Wins. Basically, Why the Book Wins.
So basically, by the title of it, the book always wins. Is that right? Is that accurate?
It actually doesn't. So I hit 2 years this year. And for my 2-year episode, I was going to go through and figure out what % of the time the book actually does win. Because I love movies too. So there's times where I'm just like, well, the movie was better. Or it's just a tie and it's hard to pick. So the book does not always win, but probably the majority of the time. Like definitely over 50%, I would guess. But it's not like I hate movies.
Well, some movies have to change. They can't do everything in the book.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's the biggest thing. I think Butler and I always talk about Harry Potter, and the first 2 movies are, when you compare them to the rest of the series, they're not as good because Chris Columbus just pulling straight from the book and slapping it on screen. It's like, that doesn't work all the time.
Yeah. It's funny because there's been movies where they're so similar to the book and it makes me like bored with the movie.
Yes.
However, then like I recently watched Power of the Dog and that is really similar to the book, but both of them are so fantastic. So if you're a good enough filmmaker, you can follow the book truthfully while still making an amazing movie that's interesting, even when you know the end. But yeah, I've definitely read ones that are very similar and then I just end up being bored watching the movie.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. We had a good time with doing Enemy. So, I mean, this was great too. But before we wrap it up completely, Butler, where can they find me and you?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. While you're there, check out all the other great podcasts and videos and stuff you could find there. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook. We're in the lobby. Come talk about In Bruges. Tell us about what you think about it. Have a conversation with us. All that good stuff.
We're on Spotify too. You could have said that. That's fine.
Yeah, but I was describing social media. Spotify's not social media.
Way to go. So join us next week. Unfortunately, Laura will not be here with us, but next week we're going to be going to 1996. We're going to be doing Butler's favorite kids film, Fly Away Home, starring Anna Paquin and Jeff Daniels.
Whoa, it's not my favorite kids film. I remember enjoying it, but that could change.
You picked it.
1986, I was like 9, so we'll see.
I'm not looking forward to this watch because
you don't like anything that you know.
Oh, that's ridiculous! Yeah. Knock it off.
Nothing, kid. You old fogey.
All right. Laura, thank you again. Thank you for joining us. We had a really good time. I hope you did too. Oh no, absolutely.
This was really fun.
Excellent. Everyone, go check out Why the Book Wins. It's pretty cool, and it's a nice little. It's different from a lot of the other podcasts out there because I do always like learning stuff. So I like that I don't know a lot of the books. I think the last one I listened to was the one you did. I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I know we had a back and forth on that, and I was just so I like that. I like learning something for the podcast. So that was great. So everyone check out Why the Book Wins, and then and I'll obviously keep checking us out, I guess, if you'd like to, but that's okay if you don't want to. So So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.